My name is Mike Burrows. We are here in the Stanceworks garage in Costa Mesa, California, and it's right here that I built this thing. I ripped the 8-cylinder engine out of it, and in its place we've put a 4-piston racing KT1000 K24. People ask me all the time, what did you build this for? As though there must be an end result that you're aiming for, whether it's a road race car, a drift car, a drag car, or even a show car, what have you. And I always struggle to answer that because it seems like the answer is never satisfactory to somebody asking that question, because the answer is always, I built it just to build it. Building something with my hands, bringing a thought to real life, bringing a dream to fruition, and just building. It's all about having something to do. It's not necessarily about the end result for me. This is what's left of a 1981 Ferrari 308 GTBi. It is arguably the least desirable version of this car. So we took it, we tore it completely apart and built the best version of this car I could conjure up. The main part of that being a Honda K24 turbo driveline. Now, the biggest reason I went for that, a lot of people think that I chose that driveline for controversial reactions, for YouTube clicks, that kind of thing. Those are fun, but the real reason is because I genuinely don't think anybody could bring a more logical power plant to the table for what I want to do with the car. Weight was paramount. The original engine that came out of this car with the driveline and its accessories was 860 pounds. And that's an aluminum V8, but the parts are old and they're heavy. In its place, the new driveline, the car in its current form is 2,300 and some odd pounds. So almost 1,000 pounds lighter than it originally was. We went with Liberty Walk fender flares on this thing. I wanted the aggressive look. I knew I wanted these flares before I even bought the car. What I didn't expect once I got the bodywork in was how monstrously messed up all of the suspension geometry would be just by bolting on wider wheels. I really wanted a car that could take advantage of the wider stance, the wider bodywork. So instead of just bolting on super low offset wide wheels, I took all of the suspension off the car, threw it in the bin, and started from scratch. So all of the control arms, upper and lower, all 4 corners, the uprights, everything has been handmade for the car to maximize the new bodywork, that wider stance. So increase track width significantly, fix the scrub radius in the front, aim for a really desirable camber curve through the travel, caster characteristics, trying to get the instant centers, the roll centers all correct, center of gravity, so on and so forth. So really aiming to engineer suspension. Now, I'm not gonna say I'm better than Ferrari, but I think what I've got here is better than it would have been if I had just bolted wide wheels onto the car. So the engine is a K24 with a K24 cylinder head. Now both the bottom end and the top end are completely worked over. It's built to make 1,200 horsepower at the crank. So we're aiming for 1,000 at the wheels just to do it, to rub it in all the Ferrari guys' faces that have said, why would you put a 4-banger in there when you've ripped out the heart and soul of this car? But I want to hit that benchmark. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I've never had a car with that much power. And again, it'll be fun to stick it in the face of all those Ferrari guys who just can't wrap their head around it. Because there's been a lot of them that just really disagree, understandably, with what I've decided to do. The transmission that we've gone with is a Quaife sequential 5-speed. We've got drive shaft shop axles out to our custom uprights. We've got H&R coilovers. I'm working on a custom bladed sway bar setup. I'm kind of approaching the suspension and dynamics side of this as I go. I need to get the car out on the track. I really want to develop it. I want to figure out what the car needs, what the shortcomings are, what I need to change, what I need to adjust, and go from there. So here inside the car, we've got the factory dashboard. Nothing else in here is left from the original car. I did want to retain the dash because I love the way that it looks, especially with this kind of iconic binnacle. It's the same dash shape as the Ferrari F40, which was a big inspiration for this car. In the original binnacle, though, we have retrofitted the Haltech IC7 digital dash. It gives me all the information that I'm looking for while I drive this thing, and I know that old analog gauges would be pretty sweet, but I'm interested in actually knowing what's going on with this thing, and fortunately, the R5 will tell me everything that I need to know. So we've got our 15-button CAN pad here. I've got full control over all of the systems. We've got all of the individual pumps, which is fuel pumps and water pumps. We've got launch control, rolling anti-lag, turn signals, lighting, start, stop. I've got control of the fans. Everything that I would want to adjust from here within the car, I've got full control of. As far as everything else in the interior, I kind of got rid of what was Ferrari. Everything that was leather, kind of just, honestly, it went in the trash can. We took the original fiberglass door panels, stripped them down, got rid of all of the parts and pieces on them, and just went with a really simple kind of Alcantara door card. I wanted something that felt either like an F40 or maybe a Porsche RSR. The carpet in the car is my own doing. I got rid of all the original sound deadening and then went with a really thin, lightweight Perlon felt. So in place of the original carpet, it is still fully carpeted, but it only is probably 2 or 3 pounds in total worth of carpet. We've got some Sebelt fixed back seats, and then of course everybody always asks what this shifter setup is, and because we've got this Quaife sequential gearbox, we've got our Quaife sequential shifter with a load cell shift knob for full control over that transmission, having things like no lift shifting and things like that. Rywire built the wiring harness on the car, and of course that's plumbed into a Haltech Nexus R5 and a PD16 PDM. We've got both of those working in unison because I do have a lot of electronics in this car. It's a water to air intercooler setup, so we've got 2 electric water pumps. We couldn't utilize the original mechanical water pump system on this engine to pump water all the way to the front of the car and back. It wasn't designed to do that. Plus, we're gonna be asking a lot. This thing's gonna be building a lot of heat. So between those systems, all of the lighting, updating everything, all of the new electronics in this car, we figured, hey, let's not ask too much of one system. Fortunately, both the PDM and the Nexus integrate perfectly with their CAN bus system, and it works flawlessly. So right now, the Aero Package is not on the car because I've been transporting it a lot and it's pretty tough to move, but it's got a full RS Future Aero Package, a huge front splitter. We've got a diffuser in the back. We've got our side splitters and the RS Future rear wing, all of which should give us a significant amount of downforce. I really want this thing to hug to the asphalt in the corners. Other kind of custom tidbits that were not on this car originally is I partnered up with Son of Cobra to build a one-off carbon ducted hood. So originally under the hood of this car is the spare tire. Obviously, don't need that anymore. We've nixed everything under the hood, have done a huge radiator compared to what the original car fit. So it's not what I would call a V-mount, but it's leaned way over. Absolute biggest cooling capacity stack between the radiator and the heat exchanger that we could fit in the front of the car, and then extracting that heat out of the hood. So it's a really simplified, stripped down car in here. Full manual steering, Narita Dogfight steering wheel. I really didn't want anything else going on in here. I wanted it to be simple, utilitarian. I wanted it to feel like a factory offered race car that they said, hey, if you want to drive this on the street, you can. So this car originally came with a 2.9 liter V8 transverse mounted. Not a lot of power out of this car. So this is the first fuel injected version of this car. It used Bosch CIS. It made 163 horsepower at the wheels. We dynoed it. That's what it did. Not a lot to show for such a wild-looking car. And in fact, or in its best form, only 240 horsepower at the crank. So these cars were never anything insane. Motivation on this project was to build the best version of a 308 that I could conjure up. I wanted something lightweight, reliable, wildly powerful. I want it to live up to the way I think the 308 should. I wanted performance that matches the looks, and as established in factory form, that ain't it. So I wanted to build this car up and ultimately take it time attack racing. Now, I've tried to explain to everybody that will listen, I don't plan on this car being truly competitive. It's not gonna win in its classes because I didn't build it to maximize a class rule set. I built it to build the car that I wanna build, but that's an ultimate goal for it, is to take it out and compete with it, compete against the clock, compete against myself, and compete against what I have built so I can come back, I can refine it, improve it, go back out, and get faster and faster.